Hey, welcome back to the Glycogen Cycling channel. So we're gonna have another beginner cyclist video today as Intelligentsia Cup is coming up at the end of next week. So I got a comment that said, how to survive your first bike race without crashing or making a fool of yourself. So today I just want to talk a little bit about how to do that. So the first thing I want to say before we get started is this is going to be based on criteriums, which is the main type of race you're going to do in the United States. These tips will also work for road races, but it's mainly focused on crits. All right, step one is once you know where your race is, you're going to want to show up at least an hour and 15 minutes beforehand, because you're going to want to be able to find where registration is, find parking, and be able to get your number, all that good stuff. So once you find parking, head over to the registration tent. If you don't know where it is, there's usually, people with their numbers already. You can ask them. Otherwise, it's, somewhere along the course usually at the start-finish line. So get your number, and what you're going to do, this is step two, is ask them what side to put your number on. This is really important because in order to not make a fool of yourself, you have to pin your number correctly. And that means if it goes on your right side, you have to make sure when you're leaned over like this, the number reads properly and not upside down. So also, a lot of Cat 5s tend to only grab 4 pins. What I'd recommend is grab at least 7. So you're gonna, when you pin your number, make sure you pin in each of the 4 corners, but don't use the holes on the actual number because that causes it to flap around a little bit more. You spend thousands of dollars on your aero bike, thousands of dollars on, your kit and training or whatever. So don't mess up by making your number not aero. So 4 corners, and then do 2 on the sides and 1 on the top. All right, so once you have your number pinned, you're all dressed, your tires are pumped up, what you're gonna wanna do is head out and go for a short warm-up. Usually you can find a little loop around where the course is. Extremely important that you don't get lost. I did this one time. I got lost before my race and missed the start by 5 minutes. So don't do any crazy route or go too far out. In case something happens to your bike, you're able to get back really quick. You're really gonna know yourself the best. So if you know you do best on a little bit longer warm-up, then do that. If you know you're better on a slightly shorter warm-up with a little bit of sprints added in, like I am, then do that. And then, head back. This is really important that you don't blow yourself up on the warm-up. I'd say do 20 to 30 minutes max, and then, that's it. So once you're done with that, the next step is to head to the line. So I'd say go there about 10 to 15 minutes beforehand, do your final pee break, and then get to the line probably about 10 minutes beforehand so you get a good starting position. All right, so step 6 is to not stress about the clip-in. So when you're on the line, you got a good starting position, don't worry about clipping in too much because that's really gonna throw you off and make you not do a good clip-in, which is gonna give you, everyone's gonna go past you at that point. So just don't stress about it. Step 7 is to stay in the front of the race. So I'm not gonna go into like super detailed topics of how to win or strategies to win, but the general consensus, or rules you should say, is stay towards the front of the pack. This is gonna keep you the most safe just from a logical standpoint. The further back you are in the field, the better probability there is that something might happen, a crash, and then you'll get caught up in it. So stay in the first 5 to 10 riders. That's usually the most efficient area because when you're going around turns, you have this yo-yo effect. So the first rider is gonna go through at full speed, but every rider behind him is gonna have to use their brakes or go a little bit slower. And by the time you get to the back of the field, they're gonna have to sprint out of the turns, which uses a lot more energy than if you just stayed in the front and were consistent with your power. Step 8 is how not to crash. This is the fun part of the video. Basically, first rule is don't overlap wheels. So I'm gonna do a little demonstration that's gonna show you what I mean by this. So you have your bike, and this wheel is the rider in front of you. So he's, you know, you're drafting like this, and he slows down a little bit, so you end up going in front of him like this. And because this is his back wheel, you can look at me now. Because this is his back wheel, he's a lot more stable than you are on your front wheel here. So if he happens to have to slide over and you're going like this, now, you know, your momentum's going towards the left, he's going to the right, and what happens is you twist your wheel like that, and, you know, bad things happen. So don't overlap wheels is my main point. That is 95% of the reason why crashes happen, because people rub wheels, and it's nearly impossible to save once you rub wheels. So stay directly behind the person, and if you do get in that situation, don't panic, but just get yourself out of there as quickly as possible. All right, next thing is stay away from sketchy riders. So you know who they are. They tend to like swerve around, or they're doing wheelies beforehand or whatever, just like thinking they're the shit. If anyone thinks they're like, anyone who's super cocky, just stay away from them, because they're usually probably not that good, and they're probably going to cause a crash by being overconfident. Nobody in Cat 5 is a terrific bike handler 99.9% of the time. So just be aware of that and stay away from those type of riders. And my last tip for how not to crash, there's plenty more, but just the one I'm going to mention is when you're done with the race, or even during the race, keep your hands on the bars. So many Cat 5s I've seen just, you know, they finish the race and they just want to show everyone they can ride with no hands. It's not that cool. Just, that's the way crashes happen, is someone rides with no hands, they get bumped, and then, you know, they go over bars. It's, yeah, not good. And the final step, step 9, is just, it's cliche, but have fun. There's gonna be Cat 5s that are stronger than you. It's, you know, that's the kind of the fun of bike racing, is you get to test yourself against stronger riders. So, you know, don't stress out too much. If you get dropped, it's all right. Go to the race next weekend and, you know, train a little bit harder. It's not that big a deal. So those are the tips. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.